G'day guys, Alan here, welcome to my workshop. So in this video I get stuck into my new Gosan lathe. I need to understand how to drive it and the accessories like the DRO and so on. And also want to check out whether the tolerances that the machine has are as claimed in the inspection report, and check other things like the alignment of the tailstock and understand the run out of the 3-jaw chuck. So first chips of course come from all of that, and then I move into my first real job, which is to make a tool post securing bolt so that I can swap out the standard 4 tool post that was supplied and use my quick change tool post that I carried forward from my previous lathe. So let's get right into it, and I hope you find it interesting. So I noticed that the ways of the top slide are being scraped, and that'll be good for oiling and lubrication. I also noticed that the cross slide, you can see here the tail end or the start of a lubrication groove, and if you operate the lubrication pump you can see oil coming up out of that. That's good on both sides. I'm happy about that. Okay, I thought it'd be a good idea to check one or two of the claimed specs that on the check sheet that came with the machine. So the claimed run out in the spindle was 0.006. Well, I can't exactly measure that, but because I can't, my most accurate DTI is 0.01s. But let's have a look at what it is. Well, that looks to me like the needle doesn't quite make it to 0 or -1, but pretty damn close. So I'd be calling that at 0.009, maybe 0.008, but easily 0.01. So I'm guessing that the spindle run out, as best I can measure it, is about 4/10, maybe 3/10. I don't know what to expect from a high quality lathe, but it seems pretty reasonable. It's certainly a lot better than I was getting from my other lathe. So anyway, that's one check. I'll look for a couple of other things to check. So I've got the DTI on the outside of the spindle nose now. We'll see if we get the same sort of result there. Well, best as I can see, that's pretty much the same, probably about 0.009, just under 0.01 anyway. So for another test, I thought I'd check the run out of the 3-jaw chuck using a dowel pin. I'm pretty happy with that, 0.02. So what's that, about 1/1000 of an inch, something like that. It's a pretty good result for a 3-jaw chuck. Anyway, happy about that. Okay, let's check how parallel the tailstock quill is. First up, so see there's nothing up my sleeve. Like that. There might be something measurable there, maybe. It's as close to 0 as I care about. So that's fine in that direction. We'll try it in the other direction now. Alright, starting off on 0. There's the roller blind rolling up. Well, that stayed as close to 0 as I care about, so I'd say that the alignment of the tailstock is pretty darn good. Happy with that. Right, so I think the next thing to check is the tailstock alignment. So I've put a precision ground bar in there between centres, and let's see what we find out. Okay, so I can see from looking at this, the tailstock has to move away from me, which means these adjusting screws, and there's one the same on the other side. Because I want the tailstock to go that way, I have to slacken this screw off and tighten the other one up a little bit. Now let's see how easy that is to do. I don't need to go very much. Let's see what that's like. Right. I reckon we call that it. So one feature of this lathe that I really appreciate is the way they've got the quill travel set up in the tailstock. With my other lathe, you couldn't get the you couldn't get the Morse tapers engaged unless you had at least 20 mils of quill sticking out. But with this one, you get the full extent of the travel available to you, 5 inches or 130 mil, even with the Morse tapers that have a tang on the end of them. So I reckon that's pretty good. Okay, the new lathe has given me the courage to try something I haven't tried before. So this is a bit of bar stock. It hasn't been turned, so it's roughly 19.86. So I'll bring the tool in, oops, set it to just touch, and make that 19.86 on the DRO. 19.86, enter, and try and reduce the bar to 19 millimeters. Dial up the 19 that we want, and see what happens. Let's see what we got. Remembering that the dimension I keyed in for this was for something which hadn't yet been turned. And let's see what we got. $19.03. Alright, 19.02. So we'll feed that back into the DRO as an updated start point. So we wanted 19, but we got 19.02, so we'll just reset that. 19.02, enter. This way, and we'll shoot for 18 millimeters this time. Let's see what we got this time. Well, I'm hoping you can see that. That's 17.999. I think that's going to be close enough for practical purposes. In fact, it's saying exactly 18 there. So, I could never have dreamt of doing that in a million years on the old lathe, so I'm somewhat ecstatic about that. So, I want to adapt the quick change tool block that I had on the old lathe to fit onto the Gosan, and as it was fitted to the other lathe, it had this sliding T-nut and an M24 thread. And getting that, when I put that in there, because I made both of these pieces, I used some super bloody Loctite. So as you can see from the blue, it took a bit of heat to get that loose. Anyway, it's come out. So I've got an M24 here and an M20 there thread. The tool post from the Gosan, which I must say looks a little bit anemic compared to the previous one. Anyway, it has an M16 and 2mm pitch thread both ends. So clearly to mount this beast I need a post that looks like that, but with those threads. And since I've got no reason to hang on to this, I'm going to machine this down to 16 and cut the 2mm pitch thread on it, and same on that end. There's just enough meat here, 20mm. I think the root depth is probably about 17, something like that. So that leaves heaps to get down to 16 and do the new thread. Yeah, so I guess that's going to be the first real turning job on the Gosan. Okay, so I want to take the bottom of this tool post mounting stud down to 16mm, and I'm going to do a 2mm depth of cut. Let's see what we got. So we got 15.996. That's pretty close. Okay, so now we're going to cut a groove here to run the thread out into. Right, time to put an M16 2.0 thread on that, a 2mm thread pitch. just see how that's going. Yeah, a bit tight. That feels pretty spectacular. I'd say that was perfect. Alright, that's that end done then. Yeah, that's excellent. Right, turn him around in the chuck. Okay, so I've modified the mounting stud for the quick change tool post, put the new threads on each end, so we're ready to see if it'll get the job done. Take you, oh, screws are standing up too high. I must say, I've been got thoroughly used to using quick change tool posts, and messing about with shims to raise and lower tools. The novelty wore off. I'll be happy to go back to my QCTP. Hoik this off. Right. And it was a pleasant surprise to see all this scraping here as well. Oh, I'll need a spanner for that. Right, have you out. The light's a bit strange, isn't it? Let's move him over that way a bit. See if that's any better. Yeah, I think that's a bit better. Right, out with the old. In with the new, hopefully. That's a nice snug fit in there, probably a bit snugger than I was expecting, to be honest. But snug's good. It's not getting any tighter, it's just a snug fit. Right, give that a good nip up. If everything works out just fine, I'll probably Loctite that in. Now let's see if we can get this beast on. It's a hefty chunk of metal, this thing. That's not so good. Catches those things, they stand up. Is it that it's catching on, or is it the spring-loaded thing in the front? I reckon it might be the spring-loaded. It's a bit hard to tell. That one is standing up. Yeah, it's that spring-loaded stud that is catching on. Oh. And what do we do about that? How easy is that to remove? A bit of research is going to be needed to understand about that. Well, let's put this on for the moment anyway. I better put it on in a useful position, because that's going to be something like that anyway. Now, unfortunately, when I sold the old lathe, what this thing is supposed to have is a thrust race here, 2 steel plates with a row of balls around it. But I think I must have given that away with the other lathe, stupidly. So for the moment I've just made up a bush to take its place. Anyway, that'll do for the moment. I'll have to, when the shop's open next year, well I say next year, next week probably, this sort of shop, the bearings and the like. Now of course the next question is, oh that's a little bit, oh no, yeah, it's a little bit tight. I suppose. That's a little bit tighter than I would like. That's strange, because that nut that I was using as a size guide, as happy as Larry. I think I'll have to run the die on that. Fake thrust bearing and cap. I can't do anything about where the handle finishes up pointing until I've got the correct thickness for the thrust bearing in there. But anyway, the adaptation of the mounting stud has obviously worked quite well. So I'll have to retire and look at the manual to see if I can understand how that spring-loaded pin works. Okay, so I can give a quick update on the quick change tool post. All sorted. Not sure how well you'll be able to see this, but the post, the tool post itself sits on a pad here that's higher than this surface. So the underside of it actually skates over the top of these oilers, so there's no problem with the oilers. And as for the spring-loaded pin in the front, couldn't be easier. Little fella just lifted out. And I did get a thrust bearing in there, one that sort of looks like this, and now with the 2 layers and the ball cage. And I put some 8 thou thick shims in there, so I can clock the position of the handle where I want it to be. So that's all done, ready for use. Now, one other thing which is a bit interesting on this machine, which I discovered, is this feature down here. I was puzzled as to what this is, and the Modern Tools who supplied the machine are on holiday at the moment, so I actually sent an email to Gosan Tools in Thailand, and they responded very quickly actually. What it is a lubrication director, shall we say, or a valve, some sort of spool valve I suppose, and there's a little graphic on the side here which had me puzzled, but it's got 4 positions that you can rotate it through, and when you operate the pump, that directs where the oil goes. So either up here above the carriage into the top slide, cross slide, I should say, or into other places. Now, I haven't seen that before, so anyway, that's what that is. I don't know whether anybody else has seen similar. The previous lathe didn't have that at all, just had the pump, and so I don't know whether this means that the lubrication system actually services more areas than the other lathe did. Don't know. But anyway, that's what that's for, and I hadn't seen one before. Oh, and the other thing I asked about in my email was the heat treatment of the bedways, because in the online brochures and stuff there was no reference to it. There was for some of their lathes, but not for this one. Anyway, I've been reassured that it is heat treated and hardened to 50 Rockwell, sorry. So that should guarantee many years of service. Okay, so the new lathe is looking a lot more familiar to me, and doing the replacement mounting stud for the tool post was a nice easy job to ease into learning the controls and ways of the new machine, and I've got to say I'm pretty happy with it. Okay, so after all that, I've got some confidence now in driving the machine, and I've established for myself that it is in fact a very accurate and high quality machine, so that's great. But before I start diving into any more turning projects, I think I'm going to have to spend a bit of time getting set up with the peripheral stuff, because I used to have a shelf on the back of my old lathe where I had the Morse taper attachments for the for the tailstock, etc., and a rack to put my chuck keys in, all that sort of stuff. And I haven't got any of that at the moment, and it was a nuisance falling over bits and pieces and losing them while I was doing even that simple job. So before I tackle on any other lathe projects, that's what I'm going to have to do. Get myself reset up again so I can find things and keep things tidy. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting, and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.